Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. So, what I want to do today is that I want us to focus on our identity as we transit from a singularity of expression in time and space in 3D into a plurality where we are now everywhere in the universe at the same time. And of course, the conduit that's going to lead us into that awareness is the torsion field, the practice of the torsion field, as I've been guiding you to do it very specifically with the idea of the seat. But before I get into this, I want to okay, let's talk about the location of the seat. We talked about this in previous classes. Let's go over some deeper details. There should be a place in your home, or it could be in a garden somewhere in ancient time, in prehistoric time. Chieftains realized that there were certain earth location, be it a rock, be it a mountaintop, be it a cave, be it a clearing somewhere under a tree, where when you go there, it seems that the connection to higher world was a lot easier. And those locations were actually became a place of gathering where the chieftains would actually go and sit in that location to allow the energy of God and spirit to communicate to the community they were leading through them. And as such, it was known in later years, in the early Christian tradition, or even now, as being in cathedra, which is when you are in the seat, and ex cathedra, which is when I am off the seat. And the pronouns, or the how they saw themselves when the person is in cathedra, the way they address the community or the group is we, meaning them individually, singularly, and the seat and the spirit that's connecting to them. So they would say we. Even today, when the Queen of England or the King of England are talking, their declaration that they are making, they talk about we, which is them and the throne, which is the seat. Okay? And according to all ancient time, this is the way you derive power and control over other people in your community, which is through the idea or you being in connection to the seat, which is the we. So the idea of that connection, hold on one second. See if somebody's trying to get in touch. So the idea of that connection became extremely important. So to that end, the seat and the location became worshipped. In some instances, for example, case in point, the tree where the first Buddha, Gautama Buddha, the Bodhi tree where he actually went in meditation and became enlightened, is a holy ground. And in Buddhism, it's one of the holiest of sight. And students and priests and monks from all over the world come to witness this and to pray and to chant around the location. So the location becomes a portal that allows the energy of Shakti, which is the energy of the earth, to ascend into the heaven freely and allow the energy from Shiva or God or the celestial energy to come down and go back into earth. So there is an ascending and descending energy, kind of like Jacob's ladder. This is very important for us to understand because we, in the process of creating the torsion field in our home location, when we go to that same place where, and again, the way the place is determined depends on the bagua, or in feng shui it's called the bagua, which is the map, the energetic map of your home. There will be a location as you move your seat and everything else around you, you will find, okay, this is the place where all the balls are there. And I can get better transmission, like a cell phone. I can receive more. And whatever that location is, you sit in that location and you allow for that to become the seat for you. And you're going to be in your prayer, in your meditation, with the torsion field system, establishing your connection to each guardian. And as the first guardian comes in and expands you, okay, your consciousness is going to expand out, kind of creating an effect that makes you feel, because at each torsion field, it's a bardo. Each torsion field, you're going through a transition between one dimension and another. You're bridging one dimension and another. So from 3D, first guardian comes in into 4D. And that bridge and that connection is going to establish it's going to make you feel sometimes, and this is why I count with my fingers, first guardian, second guardian, third guardian. It's because at some point during, often enough during my connection, there is a point where I'm going to, for a moment, black out. Meaning I won't remember, I will lose consciousness for a second and I won't remember where I am. And if I'm not using my fingers, I will not remember which guardian I was dealing with when I come back to myself. This is that blackout thing is typical of Bardo, because we're working on being, as we exist right now, unconscious tendencies floating on emptiness to become consciously immortal, which is to move to the various stage, dimension after dimension after dimension, completely self-aware and conscious. While our consciousness moves from singularity to a deeper level of expansion in 4D, where we are now going into an experience of plurality now in 4D, then back into 3D, and then expanding into 5D to an experience of deeper plurality, and it's again going back into 3D, 6D, 3D, etc., going back out like this at every time, deeper and deeper, Baldo, more and more expansion, more elevation. We're feeling like we are not grounded anymore, almost like you're falling to sleep, or you're so expanded or so wide, you can't process or assimilate from a frontal lobe cognitive way how big you really are and how far you have expanded. Moreover, it's going to also feel vertically inside of you that you are, what's the word I'm trying to find to use correctly? You are part of this immense system. You're inside a gigantic and in a term that we had spoken about this a couple of weeks ago. Metatron, who's the archangel for this connection, is called the Lord of extended heights, because he's an archangel whose foot is in the seat, but whose head is all the way into the heaven. He's a giant. So that's what the torsion field is doing, is that it's helping our consciousness follow the extended height of Metatron to see how far that Antakarana, that rainbow bridge, the bridge we're trying to connect all the way back to God, how far does it go, as we are now becoming consciously aware of every step of the way of this building up process. Now, it doesn't take long for your location to become holy. If you have the opportunity and you can actually, what's the word? You can actually do the practice 3 times a day. Now, you may want to listen to the recording of this, particularly the channeling, that the prayer, the meditation we do at the end. Listen to it for a moment, and then after that, you then do the practice yourself, right? However, when you do the practice yourself, it doesn't take, because your thought moves faster. Once you learn what the torsion field practice is, you don't need to listen to my recording anymore, because the practice of sitting on the seat, it's a practice of listening to and hearing the ringing in your ear, which is a sound that if you were to listen to a recorded meditation would disturb it. So if you're doing the practice by yourself in silence, it's going to take you less time than the 30 minutes it will take you to listen to my meditation guiding you into that awareness. You may need it initially, but after a while you won't need it anymore. And it doesn't take long. 9 days to 2 weeks, that's all that it will take. You're going to get to a point where you will know that you exist in that column. You're in spiritual rectitude and physicality. You will exist in it. And when you're in that that awareness, you're gonna know your identity as a singular individual, separated and fragmented from God and from all the celestial realm, is gonna shift into that gigantic endless column and vertical column that goes all the way back to God. And when that happens, you are now transitioning your identity from being singular to being plural. And I want you to understand this because it's already happening, but a lot of you are not aware because you don't have the syntax and the vocabulary to put this together, because it takes a minute before you can actually understand what's happening to you. It's already happening if you're doing the practice. That you are now getting more and more, your identity is shifting. And as it shifts, what's going to happen in your environment, wherever the seat is, every time you walk past by it or every time you sit on that sit, what's going to happen is at the moment you sit down, you're going to feel immediately a kind of like in and out sensation, as if when you go on that seat, magnetically or scalar wave wise, frequency wise, your awareness gets shifted immediately. It's like in an instant, your awareness is beginning to shift now into something else. You're going into transcendence. Because the imprint of the practice energetically reside in that location. And when you sit in that location, it automatically can take you in it. I want you to be very aware, after the 12 torsion field are created, there is a very specific way that you perceive yourself as being inside this immense height. Remember that feeling and that sensation very well, because that's the signature, that's the presence that you need to be in when you're interceding and being of service to the world. That's the state of awareness you need to be in. You need to be very aware of this. And there are moments For instance, and here is another truth as well. There are times when you're doing the practice when you begin to realize as you're doing it, you're done doing it, and you're walking to do something else, and I don't know, you're going around your house, or you have a meeting, you're going to do something else. The seat or the presence, the we, does not necessarily vacate because you get off from the seat. There are times, 3 hours, 8 hours later, you're still the we. That the seat actually moves with you and becomes mobile. And when somebody talks to you later on that day, they are not just talking to you as a singularity, they are talking to you and the God that you're allowing to ground through you. The Spirit of God that's moving and that's manifesting through you. And as such, when you're listening to them, you can listen to them in a completely different way. Because now it's not you listening to them. It's the entire infinity times infinity that's now connected to you that's listening to them. Thus, you're bringing peace and the serenity of God and the entrainment of God everywhere you move. This is ultimately what a true ascended being is about. That they are a grounding rod or an anchor that allows basically the celestial energy and the earth energy to merge and blend perfectly. Now, in the new earth, that state exists everywhere. But right now, as we exist on earth in a forest of errors and chaos, there are only very few locations, specific locations, where that kind of access is allowed. Where everywhere else there are disturbances that are connected to the zerapin or the locking mechanism that's trying to keep us in an understanding of a lower and less free and liberated version of God. Now, it's not that the zerapin is necessarily wrong. The zerapin is a light that's caught in a kaleidoscope. When I was a kid, I used to put my eyes inside the kaleidoscope and put it at the sun because it would create all this distraction. And I was mesmerized by all of the lights and all the shiny stuff and all the different colors it would create. This is what a zerapin does. And it creates all of the things that you have to do and you're not complete, but no direct connection to the light. Whereas when you're in the seat, instead of looking through a lens or a kaleidoscope, you're inside the light itself. And that's the difference. And in order for that to happen, once you're done with your torsion field, you need to begin to listen. And listen to the ringing and the tone. And that ringing, as it increases, you pay attention to it, and you still, in the Bible it says, be still and know that I am God. That's what you have to practice. Be so silent and so still that you begin to hear the pitch and the frequency and the vibration. And as you listen to it, at some point, it begins to increase. By increasing the pressure, maybe by the second or third day, definitely by the third day, the pressure will begin to increase. And it will increase. It will feel like the sound is getting louder and louder and louder. And then the awareness by the fourth, the fifth day will be like, wait a minute, it's not random hiss. It's not random pitch, random ringing. That sound is trying to communicate something to me. And it's something that my frontal lobe, my 3D singular awareness is not capable of processing. But I seem vibratory, the rest of my body seem to understand it. And in the process of trying to reconcile the difference between this cognitive dissonance, what my brain cannot understand, my physicality, my 3D cannot comprehend, and what my physical body and energetic body already understand. In the process of trying to understand this, you go into the white space. One day you're just going to find yourself right in there. And that's the process. Suddenly you're going to find yourself inside this immense, endless white volume. And typically I don't have a physical body, but my presence, I am conscious, I am aware that I exist in that place. My presence is there. My awareness is there, but I don't have a physical body. And I'm trying to navigate where I am, what I am, how I exist into that place, because it's extremely, the first time it happened, it's extremely disorienting. It's blank, you're there. You don't know how you got there, you just find yourself there. And when you're there, you begin to ask yourself, I don't know if any of you watch anime. I've watched a lot of Japanese anime and kung fu movies. There's a lot of things time when the somebody who's doing tai chi or cultivation of energies, and at one point they go meet an ascended master or a celestial or a god, there is a white space they find themselves in. Those people are channeling truth, because that's what it is. All of a sudden everything transforms, and then you're in the place where usually it's them and the celestial being that's talking or communicating with them. It's the closest graphic connection, although it doesn't feel exactly the same. Because in all honesty, the way it shows in the movies, it's kind of like a flat surface that's white everywhere. It's not the way it is. It's a volume where everything is white, but it feels more like a fog, but it's not exactly a fog. It's light. And as far as my sensory perception is concerned, there is no end to it. It goes at infinity. Once these things, particularly once you begin to listen and the pressure begins to increase, what's going to happen to your home environment is that you're gonna realize everything in your home, animal, plant, molecule, atoms, the air that you breathe, the walls, the paint, the chandeliers, the lights, everything in your home is going to be enhanced to such a high level and degree that you are going to now become aware that even when you're ex cathedra, when you're walking around your home, you're going to realize, wait a minute, something is happening to the very air, the space between me and the wall. It seems like the molecules in the atoms are alive, that everything is alive. Everything is self-aware. You're going to realize that there is self-awareness in all the atoms and the molecules that are all around you. The plants, the animals, everything will become awake. It's because when that energy, that's the ascending and descending energy of Shakti and Shiva, that's moving through the portal that you're creating, the seat that you're creating, it's allowing for the transmission of healing of everything that's around you, including yourself, cellularly, DNA-wise, everything in and out of you will be healed. Now, what happened as well is that when you're in the seat and you're listening to the sound, and I'm going to give you an example. I have a student who had very recently gave me, a client who gave me all of this information because she's struggling with all of these things for many years, and now seems like she had made some progress and everything returns back. And she's giving me all this list of almost like 10 things that she needs to do. And I started meditating. She gave me the list. I read that. And for 2 days, I didn't even think about her. I was just doing the practice. On the second day, all of a sudden, 2 things related to her, I was not even thinking about her, just flew into me. But they flew into me with such certainty that I knew I had to text her immediately afterwards and say, we need to talk. Give me 15 minutes of your time. She went off. We spoke. I explained to her what's going on. I told her, you should move your practice in that direction because that's the insight I got. She did, and when she did, she called me back 2 days later to tell me, forget the list. Because the list and all the things she thought she needed to do was connected to the Zerapin. To hold her in place, still in the 3D, making her feel she's disconnected to God and she needs intercession from this, that, or the other. Whereas the sound and the pitch that you're hearing, if you're paying attention to it, you will not need all of that intercession. The feel will communicate to you what you need when you need to intercede for somebody. Okay, I was not thinking of her for 2 days. It just appeared. And when it appeared, it comes with such certainty, I know it is the truth. And the same is true with things that I'm struggling with. There are moments I don't realize that there are things that were suppressed that I wasn't seeing, blind spots. And suddenly, it just shows up. You need to ask for forgiveness for this. You need to resolve this. There's this part that you didn't. And the moment I do it, the back door is closed. So there is tremendous benefit to the practice of hearing that sound, of paying attention and keeping your focus in hearing and listening to the silence and allow that sound to become bigger and more pronounced for you. As I said, there is a point where you're going to have a cognitive dissonance, where you're going to realize, wait a minute, that sound is trying to communicate something to me, and it appears that my body and energetically I seem to understand something from it. But frontal lobe, I don't get it. And when you are trying to at least for me, when I was trying to reconcile how the two things are not connecting, like this, I went right into the white space, this immense volume. I just was there. Now, the funny thing about it, when you are in that awareness and you're connected like this, it's going to change everything about you in your life. You're going to end up having these strange and weird synchronicities where you're going to be in the general perimeter of a request for help for yourself or somebody else. And without completely expressing it, it's going to manifest in the real world in the most unexpected and miraculous way that you're going to say to yourself, did I really create this? Because in the light community, for people who are so-called manifestation coach, they are telling you the intention has to be clear, you have to finalize it, and you have to project it and do this and that. There are all these things that you have to do. Whereas when you're connected to the field, and let me explain it in something that we visually can see. When you see a flock of starling that are in murmuration, the blessed field, there could be 100,000 birds or 1 million birds. They're all flying in close formation, and the field is creating the shape. Their impersonal desire or completely surrender in the stillness of the field, and they're allowing the field to take them over. And as they are being taken by the field, any desire that's personal to you that you have, the field will know it and will create a manifestation that's incredible and unexpected. The example I've used before and you all know the story. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Forgive me for this. When Celidia was in standby many years ago, almost like 10 years ago in Atlanta, for 3 days at Memorial Day, after Memorial Day, she couldn't get a flight to return back to New York. She called me on the third day. She said, Pierre, I have to return to my friend's home every night because I can't get a flight out. It's chaos down here. I said to her, we understand she was on her cell phone. I said, okay, did you do a torsion field? She said, no. I said, okay. And I could hear where she was because she was at the gate. I could hear them announce things in the background. So I said to her, hold on, let me do the torsion field for you. So I was in Cathedral. I had done the torsion field earlier, and I was doing it 3 times. I was in Cathedral. She was not talking to me. She was talking to the we. Did you understand what I'm saying? She was talking to the we. And when she began to talk to me, I said, let me do the torsion field for you. I closed my eyes and I asked the guardian to come in. And wherever I sensed her energetically in my field, I started to let the guardian. First guardian come in, create the first torsion field. Second guardian. Third. By the time I got to the 6th guardian, I could hear her say, wait a minute, something is happening. I'm making an announcement. I'll call you back, I gotta go. She called me back in 10 minutes to tell me, Pierre, bless your holy name. I said, what's going on? She said, I am all of us who are on standby. She was number 48 on the list, and there were people behind her. She said, all of us are in the plane. They just closed the door. We are taxiing, and we're on our way to New York. I didn't do any of it. And that's the part that I want you to understand. You don't need to know how to do these things. I don't know how to cure disease. I don't know how to give people fertility. I don't know how to remove. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. But I can connect vertically and allow the God that's within me to listen to the pain and the suffering of others and the discomfort of others. And in the process of doing this, that field will react. I could not consciously have conceived and came up with the idea, I'm going to try to manifest and make sure everybody is in the place. I didn't have the time to even finish the torsion field. The miracle, like this, the field knew and created the miracle. You have to be in the general proximity of an intention. It doesn't have to be complete. And it happens so fast that I begin to say to myself, did I create this? No, I can't be. I even have I had the imposter syndrome because I'm like, I couldn't possibly have done this. It was too easy. It's like making my eyelid. I did really basically nothing. I just blinked my eyelid but how long did it take me to create? Get to the 6th guardian. Not even maybe a minute and a half. Not even a minute and a half. It was too easy because in 3D reality, for something like this to happen, I would have to go Mount Everest backwards. Yet it manifested. And I've had many, many incidents that are similar to this that have happened over the years with many, many clients. Sometimes in hands-on healing, things that were impossible. I remember one time doing something for a client, and I'm literally just like a 5-minute healing, just like putting my hand in 2 locations on her back. She said to me, the next day she called me, she said, did you completely readjust me? She said, you saw when I turned around and looked at you? My entire spine realigned. I got an adjustment. The pain is gone. I was just putting there were lots of people around me. I just put my hand on her back at 2 locations. But I was in Cathedral. I was in the seat. And it's not me, it's the field that is moving through me. I want you to understand this and to comprehend that The biggest challenge is to remain in cathedra. That's the biggest challenge. Because the moment you're in cathedra, you don't know. Like people are asking me, like I have a client that reached out to me recently, and asking me, somebody online, to do all this prayer. I just did a prayer of intercession, but this person wanted me to battle for them. I'm like, I don't battle. I don't battle. You're on your own. Go find somebody else. It's not me. I've already interceded. I did a prayer for you. I brought you into the field. Whatever else needs to happen, the field will take care of it. And you will have people who will insist, but you have all this power. I don't have powers. I don't have powers. Any questions, any comments?
Okay, if I may.
Yes.
Um, Once you're in that space, that white space, the torsion field connection, and you're manifesting whatever unspoken, even desires you may have, would it be, and maybe you're not ever in that space with a negative emotion, but if that were possible, would that mean that negative thought or emotion would manifest as well?
When you're in negative emotion and negative thought, it actually affects your own physical body. Okay, I'm going to use an example. I was doing a class, and somebody said something about manifestation. I don't need this to be manifest this way because I am special in some ways. Because for many years I was able to do this on my own. I can do this without this. I don't need that. I don't need this. I can do this for all this time. And I know this person intimately, and I know what they're talking about is physical things that have to do with the 3D world, that relates to money and property and things like that. But ask them to do a healing or a connection to repair somebody, they are not capable of doing it. I don't need the torsion field because I've done it for many years before. And hearing this triggered me into judging them. This is where they are in their consciousness right now. And all of us are growing and evolving. And what happened to me immediately? I started coughing incessantly for 10 minutes because I was judging them. So for me, the judgment disconnect me to me being in category to being ex category.
Hmm. I understand. I suspected that that would be the case.
Yeah, it,
Could you spell inketed whatever?
it's like a cathedral, CATTHEDRA, something like that, cathedral.
Inketed. I see.
Yes,
Thank you.
it's a Latin term. Anyway, so and it's two separate things. It's like in cathedra and then ex cathedra, EX and then cathedra. And so the thing about it is that it disconnected me. And then what did I have to do? I spent the entire evening after that asking doing the Ho'oponopono, asking for forgiveness so that I can go back in cathedral. But I was judging. And it's part of my karma, right? It's part of my karma to meet people like this because that's the only way the universe is going to test us to see how tolerant and how accepting we are of other people and wherever they are. Because people can say whatever they want. How we react to what they say is our own responsibility. And I couldn't accept what she was saying. I got so upset. I thought I was. I'm like, well, she should have known by now. Lack of maturity, blah blah blah. As I was judging her in my head, I disconnected. And I saw that happened to me. And now every time I'm doing a healing and I'm judging a client, I get All of a sudden, I start coughing incessantly.
Mhm. And the same would apply if you're judging yourself.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. When you're being harsh with yourself, yes.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
If the one question I have, we start with the 3D, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing below that.
There are 2D and first D, but we are in 3D and our awareness is trapped in 3D. So we're starting with the 3D where we are.
Okay, I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
There's 1D and 2D, but we're not, and there
Feel
are beings that inhabit those realms. But we are not aware and cognizant of them. We start with the 3D world.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So the humility, it's not just having humility. You're going to have to negotiate when these synchronistic events are going to occur for you, where you think of something and then it shows up out of nowhere, but it shows up in ways that are impossible for you to have predicted or created. It's when you begin to realize it's not you doing it. You're just in sync with the universe, and the universe is taking you on a ride. It's not you, it's just the fact that you're in sync. And the universe is elevating what you're already contributing to the field. This is important because your ego has to be out of the way. Because if you think you have that kind of power and you can create this, it is a joke. Because if you think you're capable of doing this and you have all this power, you have not understood the thing. In fact, that will take you into category and you will be out of the field. It's the more you're humble and grateful to the fact that you are in sync with the universe, and that the universe is taking tiny little hint from you to manifest these incredible and miraculous circumstances, manifestation, and event. That's when you begin to say to yourself, "Oh my God, uh, it is not I, but it's the Father or Mother through me." Now, additionally, I want to talk a little bit about this. I don't remember exactly the date. I think it was 1890 or around there. There was I have to Google this next time so that I can have the right date. There was a doctor, Austrian doctor, that was called Mesmer. I forgot his first name. And he then moved to Vienna. His discovery, aside from doing early medicine, is that he began to realize there was something in the human body, or energetic understanding of the human body, that he called uh, uh, human magnetic field. And as such, he began to explore. And he's the father of hypnotherapy. He began to explore induction techniques that were connected to, first, normal hypnotic induction, which was you repeat something over time, or you ask somebody to look at the pendulum, and as they're looking, the repetition goes over. You're getting sleepier and sleepier. I'm going to count to 10, and you're going deeper and deeper. Those kind of repetitions, right? So that's the normal induction. In singularity, in 3D consciousness, that's the way you induce somebody, and it takes a half hour to an hour for the induction to take. Okay? And then you can help the person remove trauma, all kind of spontaneous healing happens, etc., etc. Okay, or have them remember things that they have forgotten, and etc., etc. Right? So you can do this, and he did. He demonstrated it. But what he added as well, and this is why in French now there are two terms. He also, the magnetic field, the human magnetic field he was talking about, he began to have group session, particularly when he moved to Paris, where he would take a rod, a metal rod, and he would wave the metal rod and make a command like a magic wand, and people would fall to the ground in trance, having memory traumas being remembered, having all kinds of things that were block access to them, all kinds of miraculous. And he was very theatrical and very demonstrative. He was a showman. And the field that he was manipulating is actually the energy, the scalar wave field, or the torus or the torsion field. He didn't have the vocabulary of the torsion field. He, as a scientist, the term he had was resembling that of a magnet. Okay? And he called it human magnetism. But it wasn't just human magnetism. It was actually the torus that he was manipulating. In French, there is the term called the hypnotiste, which is somebody who was a hypnotist, and then what they call magnetiseur. There's no translation for it in English. It's the person who manipulates the torus field, the magnetic field. I was trained as a hypnotherapist, and for many years, every year, I used to go to these weekend workshops, and there would always be a teacher there, and there was one that was very famous, who was a magnetiseur. When he would walk into a room, and he would snap his finger and go sleep, and literally half of the room would fall into a trance. Okay? And that was being done through his identity as, and the way he understood himself. He was completely in cathedra with his identity as a magnetiseur. And it was so strong and so powerful that he would issue out command with his mouth without induction, and immediately the person he was directed at would go into a trance. It was instant. I've witnessed it multiple times in front of my face at these trainings. Now, Mesmer himself was doing a lot of this, and therefore a lot of people thought he had all these magic powers and all this. And he died. He was discredited by the medical association to remove his medical practice license because no one could duplicate it. Because these people were not magnetiseurs, they were hypnotists. And they thought he was a charlatan. But he was not a charlatan. He was manipulating and dealing in cathedra. He was so identified with his being as connected to that field that he was moving in that field and making simple little suggestions, and the field would create the manifestation all around him, and everybody thought he was a miracle worker. And I have, to his lack of maturity, he actually played with that because that gave him more importance. In the end, he lost everything. He lost his reputation, and this is the consequence for not having the wisdom to understand it's not me doing it, but it's the God. It's me and the seat. He lost everything. Everybody thought he was a charlatan. He was like in Paris. He was booked for months in advance. In the end, he died in poverty, like completely destitute. What we are doing, particularly as it relates to us being in the seat, when you move around your apartment, after you do this for a while and you begin to realize that every molecule and atom in your space, that hiss that you're hearing, The pressure becomes so big that every atom and molecule in your entire home seem to have the hiss. And it's almost like a permanent state. It's all around you. And in fact, sometimes when friends who are out of alignment come in, they can't stay in your house. They're like, I remember one incident, somebody started screaming, like they're hearing the sound, they have to get out. Because they're out of alignment. The place is the holy ground to allow that communication. If they're out of alignment because they're too connected to the 3D world, they can't remain. Because they exist in the Zerapin. When you own that identity, that in Cathedra, you are connected to the blessed field. And because you are connected to the blessed field, nothing can touch you. Miraculous thing will happen to you. So I want you to examine the potential that you are going to get to a point where you're going to be so connected to that blessed field that again, all of you are on the way already because you've done the practice already. You're beginning to notice a lot of the things I'm saying, I'm explaining what you're already experiencing in your home, in your environment, around you, or in your life. This very weird synchronicities that are already happening for you. Okay? I'm just giving you a further explanation to make you understand what it is. You are connected to an endless field because now you're in plurality. You exist no longer as a singularity, as I, but you exist now as a we. And as long as you're as a we, the entire universe conspires to make your slightest desire manifest. Your needs manifest in the most impossible and miraculous ways. Suddenly they just show up out of nowhere and they anchor something beneficial for you or for someone you're trying to intercede with for. And the beauty of this is that as we keep doing this for others, there will come a point where we will have to do it collectively for the entire planet. And that's the greater purpose. Because we are not here just to do this for ourselves. We all came here and descended and agreed and took an oath long before we incarnated to be here at this time of transit, to help shepherd humanity into the next realm, which is the new earth. And the only way that this can happen is for us to exist like a flock of starlings together and allow the blessed field to use us as anchors, as grounding rods, to bring forth God's true purpose, to bring forth the true spiritual intention and the miraculous passage that needs to open for us to get into the new earth. I was joking with Celidia many years later as we were talking. I keep using that example over and over again when she was still with us on earth. I was joking with her one day and I said, you know, to be perfectly honest, that day, the way Spirit guided all of you guys into finding a seat. And she said to me later on, she said, Pierre, they didn't check the boarding passes. They just said, get in the plane, get any seat, just go. And that's why she had to run. She hung up and she said, I gotta go. And I told her, I said, what I can say to you is that for you and for your consciousness, the only way you could accept what the blessing that the field was trying to orchestrate, because the way the field is, it's not one solution set that shows up. It's an endless array of solution set. And then the field will pick the one that's the most appropriate for the individual you're interceding for. And I told her, I said, I want to share with you that I actually think that if you were willing to accept this, you would be at the airport in Atlanta, and then a second later, you would be in your driveway with your luggage in hand, ready to go inside your apartment. And she said, Pierre, if that had happened, I would have had a heart attack right then and there. I said, that's why God and the blessed field created a different outcome for you, to something you could accept. A miraculous connection that allow you and all the other passengers to find a plane, and then you flew to New York, and then you exit the plane, you got your bags, and you took your car, you did all the things that. But in the endless field of possibilities, teleporting you directly in front of your doorway exists because there is no time and space. And the reason I'm using this, I'm bringing this up, is that we, meaning not just me, but all of us who are doing this work, we have to coordinate together with the intention of asking for humanity to find safe passage into the new earth. And by us doing this, we're going to create a doorway to transport whomever feels prepared and ready, that can get in the bus to move into the new earth. And this is where the seat that I'm creating in my apartment, and the seat that you're creating wherever you are around the world, whether you're in Germany, in Australia, in Japan, in New Zealand, in South America, in Europe, wherever you are, we're going to overlap each other. Center to center, we're going to connect. And when we all are focusing together, help humanity find safe passage. And the doorway will snap open. It's not, and again, I'm being so sincere and so honest with you. A lot of time people are, you're a great healer. I'm not. I don't have healing abilities. I am here to serve, and I connect well. And over the years, through that meditation practice, I am able to surrender my spirit. And the more surrendered I am, the more I connect. And through that connection, if I bring a peripheral desire, or for that matter, intention, the field will move behind me to help create it. And it will appear that I am this great healer. But consciously, cognitively, there is no intellectual thought. I would have never have thought and processed this idea that all of these people are going to come together, there's going to be a miraculous thing that happen, and all of them will move. I would have never come up with this. Not in a million years. So you're going to learn how to it's a weird feeling, because you're going to be in the border of sleep and expanded awareness. and yet at the same time be aware that you exist. So instead of being unconscious tendency of emptiness, the way Bardo usually happens is that we pass out. You fall asleep, you don't know how you got into the dream. You blank out. This is the way Bardo. Bardo is in Tibetan Buddhism. Bardo means an intermediary state between two states of awareness. It's the intermediate state of being. So between sleep and awaken, we transition. Typically speaking, we black out. But the practice is to keep us consciously aware through the Bardo. And all of you are experiencing this now. And when it happens, it's very weird because while you're doing the torsion field, all of a sudden you become aware of like 4 or 5 things at the same time. It shows up almost like a fan. Or an image shows up out of nowhere. And if you don't, it feels so effortless, like you're doing nothing, it just shows up. We expect it's like a dumbbell. I have to do curl and I have to do all this effort and it's gonna show up. None of that happens. It just you blink and then all of a sudden something shows up. This is the way the intention and the help from yourself that you need to do more open toward this. You need to, or insight that you're having for a friend, for somebody who asks you for intercede for them. It shows up out of nowhere. It just flies in. And it feels very fluidic. It feels like waves are flying over you, washing over you. And it's not exactly, for me, completely visual. It is visual sometimes, but a lot of time, it's also an instant knowing. The whole thing comes in all at once. And I instantly know that this is the truth. And with complete certainty. That's what needs to happen. But if you blank, you're going to forget it. This is why when I'm doing the practice, I have a little piece of paper next to me and a pen, because a lot of time when these insights come in, I jot them down. And sometimes I think they are random because they are connected to this person, and I keep doing the practice, and the next thing you know, something else shows up about something else. However it shows up, I just write them down. One sentence. It doesn't have to be an entire paragraph, just one. And when you close your eyes again, you go back into that state. Because that state is so deep. It's like when you first awake from a dream, you're still in REM sleep, and your brain is still in the REM sleep, and you can close your eyes again and go back into the dream. That's the kind of awareness it is. So your identity has to shift, similar to Mesmer. Instead of just being an hypnotist, somebody that's like standing in long, drawn out kind of thing, to being now a magnetizer where you're so connected to the blessed field that the intention barely shows up in the torsion field and the field manifested for you. All the things that are connected around it just allow it to show up. Any other questions or comments?
Um, I don't know what this is, but I'll make it. Sometimes when I'm uh have done Trojan field or fallen asleep or whatever, there is a sparkle of like the sky, stars. I just see them, but it's very quick.
Hmm.
But but it's I suppose it's probably connected to the what you're talking about.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
You will have insight, you will have all kinds of things coming to you. And the other thing as well is that as you're doing this practice and the listening and everything else, you might find sensation moving, like electrical sensation moving through your body, or things pinging, or things releasing. All of these things are done it's actually for your healing.
Yeah.
Nothing negative can happen in that field
Mhm.
because it's a field of you surrendering everything to God.
Mhm. Yeah.
So whatever shows up is actually for your benefit.
Yeah.
Initially, you might have sensation of things moving around your head, all kinds of twitching, maybe some part of your body seems to be trembling while you're doing it. It doesn't matter. Keep doing well practice. It's come a point where you will bypass that. First of all, you're being rewired
Mhm.
to allow for more energy to flow through you
Mhm.
so that Ida and Pingala and all that energy can flow better and better through you.
Mhm.
So you need to be in that awareness.
Mhm.
Simply surrender and allow for all of that to go move through.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, let's take a 5 minute break and then we'll go into a closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. And the guardian alliance of light approach you, offering to gift you their shields of light and protection and a band of neutrality. If you are ready to accept this gift at this time, answer affirmatively. And let the energy of the first guardian begin in the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving to the bottom of my feet, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the fourth dimensional body while creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the top of my head extends, and it attracts now the energy of the second guardian, beginning in the top of the fifth dimensional body, cascading down into the top of my head while rotating clockwise, passing through my core, dropping into the bottom of my feet, and going to the core of the earth while creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends, and it attracts now the energy of the third guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving to the bottom of my feet, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the sixth dimensional body while creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the top of my head extends and it attracts down the energy of the fourth guardian, coming in from the top of the seventh dimensional body, rotating clockwise, passing through the top of my head, moving through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going into the core of the earth while creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the fifth guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, counter-rotating, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the eighth dimensional body and creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of my head extends and it attracts now the energy of the sixth guardian, coming in from the top of the ninth dimensional body, rotating clockwise, passing through the top of my head, moving through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going to the core of the earth while creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends, and it attracts now the energy of the seventh guardian, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of my feet, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the 10th dimensional body while creating all around me the torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the top of my head extends, and it attracts now the energy of the 8th guardian coming in from the top of the 11th dimensional body, rotating clockwise, passing through the top of my head, moving through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going into the core of the earth, while creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the night guardian coming in from the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of my feet, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the 12th dimensional body. While creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. The axis at the top of your head extends and it attracts now the energy of the 10th guardian coming in from the top of the 13th dimensional body, rotating clockwise, passing through the top of my head, moving through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going into the core of the earth, while creating all around me. The torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends. And it attracts now the energy of the 11th guardian, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of my feet, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the 14th dimensional body, while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I am in the rest and stillness of God. The axis at the top of my head extends, and it attracts now the energy of the 12th guardian, rotating clockwise, coming in from the top of the 15-dimensional body and the throne room of God, rope passing through the top of my head, moving through my core, and going into the core, the bottom of my feet and the core of the earth, while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. Listen. Listen as if the more than 150 trillion cells in your body had ears. Listen to the stillness and the silence of God. Listen to the ringing, the pitch, which is the direct bridge, the permanent connection to the throne room of God. what insight, what breakthroughs, what information is it trying to share with you? Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, You can open your eyes.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I want to thank you all for listening tonight. And again, the practice is evolutionary, and whatever occurs while you're in that connection uh, is beneficial ultimately. Good night, everyone. Thank you all, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for watching and on Patreon for the support. Thank you on YouTube. Subscribe. Love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Night, everyone. Love you.